Hey Grand Adventurers, welcome back. I'm your host Mark Guido, and we're spending this week along the banks of the Salmon River near the central Idaho town of Challis, an important area in the history of mining in the state of Idaho. Come along. This episode of Grand Adventure is sponsored by eTrailer.com, where you'll find thousands of products for RVing, towing, camping, outdoor recreation, vehicles, boating, and more. Use the link down below in the video description to shop eTrailer with Grand Adventure. This stretch of the Salmon River following U.S. Route 75 from Stanley to Challis in central Idaho is also known as the land of the Yankee Fork, after 19th century gold and silver mining operations that took place throughout the area. We're going to explore the beauty, history, and recreational opportunity of this entire stretch of river, beginning with our campsite for the week at Bayhorse Recreation Site. This is an 11-site dry, first-come, first-served BLM campground, stuffed between the road and the river, although the road sees little traffic at this time of year, especially at night. There are no facilities here aside from a pit toilet, 2 water hydrants, a boat ramp, and fire rings and picnic tables at each site. Campsites here cost only $10 per night, or $5 per night when the water's turned off, as it is throughout our late April, early May stay, even though they claim to usually turn the water back on around the end of March. For that paltry price, it's not worth scouring the area in search of a boondocking spot. Our site is barely 20 feet back from the right bank of the Salmon River, as it rushes past, filled with snowmelt from the Sawtooth Mountains upstream. For most of our stay, we've been the only ones here. In fact, the camp host didn't even arrive for the season until midway through our week. Our stay here has been eminently peaceful, and we've heard little besides the honking of Canada geese as they fly upstream, barely above the surface of the river. The Salmon River, also known poetically as the River of No Return, flows for 425 miles through central Idaho, dropping more than 7,000 feet from its headwaters near Galena Summit above the Sawtooth Valley to its confluence with the Snake River. The Salmon is a popular destination for whitewater kayaking, canoeing, rafting, and fly fishing. It's the longest undammed river in the contiguous United States and is thus the longest Pacific sockeye salmon migration in North America. The Salmon River Basin contains up to 70% of the remaining salmon and steelhead habitat in the entire Columbia River Basin. Historically, 2 million Chinook salmon returned to the Salmon River Basin each year, but by the 1990s, that number was down to 2,500. Chinook, steelhead, and sockeye salmon populations have been listed under the Federal Endangered Species Act since the mid-1990s. But while populations have rebounded a bit, they remain at risk, in large part because of the negative effects of 4 federal dams and reservoirs on the lower Snake River, through which both juvenile salmon and returning adults must pass. Fish screens along the Salmon River, like this one right in our campground, are used to safely return fish to the river after they are accidentally diverted into the river's numerous irrigation ditches. There are numerous BLM and Forest Service campgrounds along this entire stretch of river, and some of them are even free, like Dead Man Hole Recreation Site shown here, just a few miles upstream from Bayhorse Recreation Site. Our campground gains its name from the nearby ghost town of Bayhorse, 4 miles up Bayhorse Creek from the Salmon River, and accessible via a smooth graded dirt road that's negotiable by any vehicle. Founded in 1877, Bayhorse was once a thriving mining community, principally supported by a large nearby silver deposit. In 1885, the town had grown to 300 residents, supported by this large mill, 3 stores, a hotel, a restaurant, a meat market, a lodging house, and 5 saloons. The same year, the town built a refinery, allowing the mining industry to issue silver bars. And by 1900, the town had extracted over $10 million in total ores, including silver, lead, and copper. The entire town property was purchased by the state of Idaho in 2006 and opened to the public in 2009 as part of land of the Yankee Fork State Park, which includes many other historical sites we'll be visiting in this episode. These nearby charcoal kilns were used to make charcoal to smelt the ore from the mines at the mill. The weather throughout our week here at the end of April and beginning of May has been changeable. Nights have dipped into the 30s, and we've had everything from a wintry mix to daytime highs in the 70s during our stay. We don't like to run the furnace much, and definitely not overnight. So I've been making ample use this week of the 12-volt Ignik Topside heated blanket sent to us by our video sponsor, eTrailer. This 52-inch by 72-inch heated blanket plugs into a 12-volt lighter socket rather than a 120-volt AC outlet, so you can power it from any vehicle, power station, or RV without the inefficiency of inverting battery power to AC power. Maximum draw is 4 amps. It's ideal for anything from a road trip to a camping excursion. An upper heat zone and foot heat zone both emit extra heat to keep your extremities warm, while the middle zone emits less heat to prevent overheating your core. Don't expect intense heat, like that emitted by a medical heating pad. Instead, this is far more subtle, yet nevertheless incredibly effective. A smart controller provides 10 levels of heat and a self-timer to shut the blanket off automatically after times ranging from 1 to 10 hours. The power cable and smart controller conveniently store in a zippered pocket right on the blanket. The blanket itself is thick, heavy, and well constructed, faced with 100% post-consumer recycled polyester in a topographic pattern on one side, and a thick plush, slip-resistant micro suede on the other. A lightweight stuff sack is included. A clip allows one to wear the blanket like a poncho, ideal for staying warm during my early work mornings in front of the PC, without significantly draining the RV battery. If you'd like to check out the Ignik Topside heated blanket for your own grand adventures, we'll put a link to this product at eTrailer, both down below in the video description and as a QR code right here on the screen that you can scan with your mobile device. Although its population barely numbers 900, Challis is nevertheless the largest city in Idaho's Custer County and the only town of substance relatively close to our campground. There's admittedly not much here, aside from a handful of motels and restaurants. Although Lamb's Market serves as a resupply point for RV travelers that's more complete than one would expect from a town of this size. Comprised of several separate units scattered throughout the region, Yankee Fork State Park interprets Idaho's frontier mining history, including the ghost town of Bayhorse. The Interpretive Center, just south of Challis, includes a museum and gold panning station, along with an RV dump station. Adjacent to the park's Interpretive Center, these short cliffs line the narrowing valley that the Salmon River flows from, and they hold an interesting history. The Northern Shoshone and their ancestors were the probable users of this site. Above these cliffs is a broad expanse of sagebrush and saltbrush, where herds of bison once grazed. First on foot, beginning in the 12th century, and later with horses after they acquired them in the 18th century, native hunters would drive the bison off these cliffs to their death, where they were then butchered for their meat, hide, and bones. These carcasses we found below the cliffs, which appear to be bighorn sheep and deer, seem to indicate that animals continue to fall to their death here. About a 45-minute drive up the Salmon River from our campsite, Yankee Fork is a major tributary that flows from the north. A few miles up the Yankee Fork, what was once a toll road to Challis is suddenly lined by this rubble on both sides. It continues for several miles. But what created such extensive piles of rock and the small ponds between them? This did. Once placer mining was exhausted in the early 1930s, and the area's major mines, like the General Custer, ceased operations. They caught the interest of a Louisiana company, whose initial tests indicated that as much as $16 million in gold was still recoverable from the river. This 988-ton, 112-foot dredge began operations in October 1939. It required 11 feet of water to float. These 72 buckets could dig the river bottom up to 35 feet, constantly dredging out rock and recovering the precious mineral by washing and separating the rock and dirt from the gold. It operated until 1942, then resumed from 1944 until 1952. The adjacent ghost town of Bonanza predates the dredge. The first significant find in the Yankee Fork mining district was made in 1875, which produced as much as $20,000 in ore dug by hand by William Norton and his partner, and the area soon flooded with miners. It quickly became the hub of the area, and by 1881 it boasted some 600 people and numerous businesses, including Custer County's first newspaper, plus a croquet field, a baseball field, and a small racetrack. In the meantime, Custer City had also sprung up about 2 miles upstream from Bonanza. At its peak, Bonanza's population outnumbered Custer's by 2 to 1. However, following a fire in 1897, most of the merchants still in Bonanza moved to Custer instead of rebuilding. Today, the remains of Custer are far more intact. Custer was founded in early 1879, right below the General Custer Mill site, founded by a transplanted Harvard Law School graduate who had headed west and worked as a prospector rather than pursuing his law career. By the 1890s, Custer and Bonanza had virtually grown together, supported by the operations of the Lucky Boy and Black Mines, and were operated by common authorities. Custer reached its peak population of 600 in 1896. In its heyday, the town boasted a post office, a general store, a boarding house, several restaurants, the Nevada House Hotel, a school, and numerous saloons. However, it never had a church. By the turn of the century, the end was in sight for both communities, and in 1904 the Lucky Boy Mine and General Custer Mill closed. Most people began to leave, and by 1910 only about 12 families were living in Custer, which became a ghost town shortly thereafter. The Yankee Fork Gold Dredge and the ghost towns of Bonanza and Custer are all now part of the land of the Yankee Fork State Park. A bit further upstream along the Salmon River from Yankee Fork, the rugged Sawtooth Mountains suddenly come into view above the town of Stanley, reaching a maximum elevation of 10,751 feet at the summit of Thompson Peak, and home to hundreds of lakes created by vanished alpine glaciers. Population in the town of Stanley barely exceeds 100. But nevertheless has long served as a gathering place and hub of outdoor recreation for this sparsely populated region. We're next going to explore this area's fascinating active geological activity, right after we take a quick ad break to pay the bills, so stay tuned. Forgive the pun, but this entire stretch of the Salmon River running from Stanley to Challis is a hotbed of geothermal activity. Located near where the Yankee Fork enters the Salmon, Sunbeam Hot Springs has a long history, dating back to its use by the Lemhi Shoshone people for healing. Hudson Bay fur trappers described it in 1821 as a boiling fountain. In 1937, the Civilian Conservation Corps built a bathhouse, a portion of which still stands here, which once included pools and tubs for public use and a system to circulate the hot spring water through the cold river water. Today, soakers use a crude pipe carrying the hot spring water to accomplish much the same thing. Just outside of Challis sits another geothermal hotspot, Challis Hot Springs. Water is diverted from this hot spring pond into both a small hot pool and a large warm swimming pool. The springs became popular during the region's mining boom, providing a place for miners to rest and relax after their work. In the 1880s, Robert Beardsley homesteaded the property, known then as the Beardsley Resort and Hotel, and developed the hot springs, floating logs down the Salmon River to build early structures. Tragedy struck, however, in 1888, when Beardsley drowned attempting to cross the Salmon, and his wife Eleanor continued to manage and develop the resort after his death. Challis Hot Springs was acquired by the state of Idaho in 2023 and became part of the land of Yankee Fork State Park, offering natural hot springs, RV and tent camping, and access to various outdoor activities. All of this geothermal activity is indicative of deep fractures beneath the Earth's surface here, tangentially related to the Yellowstone supervolcano. Southeast of Challis lies the Lost River Range, which has an important role in this region's geologic history. It includes Borah Peak, which at 12,662 feet is Idaho's highest summit, and it's still growing. On Friday, October 28, 1983, the Borah Peak earthquake occurred at 8:06 a.m., measuring 6.9 on the moment magnitude scale. The quake caused the summit of Borah Peak to rise about a foot, and the surrounding Thousand Springs Valley dropped a remarkable 8 feet. Visible in the distance, crossing the foothills of the Lost River Range, the tan line you see is the surface faulting from the 1983 earthquake. The towns of Challis and McKay, 50 miles to the southeast of Challis, both experienced rather thorough damage, with 11 commercial buildings and 39 homes sustaining major damage, and another 200 houses reported to have minor to moderate damage. Although McKay in particular experienced the most severe damage, the quake's 2 fatalities occurred in Challis, as a storefront fell on 2 children walking to school. Another quake, measuring 6.5, centered 45 miles west of Challis, struck on March 31, 2020, the second strongest earthquake ever recorded in Idaho. Fresh scarps and ground ruptures from the 1983 earthquake run for 21 miles along the base of the mountains here, where the ground was literally shattered into tilted blocks. We hope that you've enjoyed visiting the land of the Yankee Fork with us. If you enjoyed this episode, it is extremely important to us that you give us a big thumbs up down below. And while you're down below, that's where you'll find the comments section, where we'd love to hear from you each and every week, and where we're available to answer any questions that you may have. If you're not yet a grand adventurer yourself, coming up next week, we're going to be heading for the beautiful Bitterroot Valley of Montana. So now is the perfect time for you to go smash that little subscribe button right down there in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, and ring that notification bell to be sure that you never miss a grand adventure, which we premiere right here every Wednesday evening. We'd also be honored if you shared the channel with your friends, family, and on social media. So until next Wednesday from the Bitterroot Valley, please remember life is nothing but a grand adventure. We'll see you then.